The rain poured mercilessly over the small town of Ridgeway that night. The streets shimmered with the reflection of neon lights, and the distant rumble of thunder rolled across the sky. A little girl, no older than 8, ran barefoot across the parking lot of a diner, her red hoodie soaked and clinging to her small frame. Her eyes darted around in panic as she glanced over her shoulder again and again. Someone had been following her for days, and tonight she knew she couldn't run any longer. She stumbled near the edge of the diner's lot, her breathing ragged, heart pounding so loud she could hear it echo inside her chest. Then, in the blur of tears and headlights, she saw them. 5 men standing beside heavy motorcycles, leather vests glinting with patches and chains. They looked rough, intimidating and powerful. Most people would turn and run from such men. But this terrified little girl didn't have that choice. She ran toward them. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for those who can't defend themselves, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this one remind us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they ride Harleys. The leader of the group, a broad-shouldered man with a gray beard and eyes that carried both strength and sadness, knelt down as she reached him. He could see the fear trembling through her tiny hands. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. Finally, between sobs, she whispered that a man had been following her home for 3 nights. She lived just 3 blocks away with her single mother, and every evening after school, she noticed a black van trailing her. Tonight, the van had stopped outside her home, and that's when she ran. The biker introduced himself simply as Bear. His voice was deep but soft, the kind that made you feel safe even in chaos. He called over one of his club brothers to get her a blanket from his bike. They brought her inside the diner, where the staff quickly recognized her. She often came by with her mother for pancakes on Sunday mornings. The girl sat trembling in a booth while Bear crouched in front of her, gently asking questions. Did you see his face? Has he spoken to you? Where's your mom right now? She told him her mom was working the late shift at the hospital. Bear's expression hardened. He had seen a lot in his life, fights, betrayals, even death, but nothing boiled his blood like seeing a child in fear. He made one call, then another, and within minutes, more motorcycles roared into the parking lot. The rumble of engines echoed through the night like a call to arms. The Brotherhood had arrived. The men weren't just bikers. They were veterans, mechanics, fathers, and survivors. Some of them had once been lost souls themselves until the club gave them purpose. They called themselves the Guardians, and their code was simple: protect those who can't protect themselves. As the rain eased into a drizzle, Bear decided to take the girl home, but not alone. 4 bikes formed a tight diamond formation around the little red hoodie as she sat on the back of Bear's bike, clutching a borrowed jacket that looked like it could swallow her whole. When they arrived, the street was silent except for the ticking of cooling engines. The black van was gone, but fresh tire marks were visible in the mud near her driveway. Bear told 2 of his men to stay near the house while he contacted the police, but he knew how these things often went. Reports got filed, promises were made, and nothing happened until it was too late. He wasn't about to let that happen. The next day, Bear met the girl's mother, a tired nurse named Jessica who hadn't realized the danger lurking near her home. She thanked the bikers through tears, calling them angels in leather. But Bear wasn't satisfied. He asked for permission to install cameras near the street. The club used their own funds and connections to set up small hidden devices, not just around her block but throughout the nearby neighborhood, where other strange incidents had been reported. Within a week, what they uncovered was far worse than anyone expected. The same black van had been circling not just the girls' street, but 2 nearby schools, and there were more vans, different colors, different plates, but the same pattern. The footage caught men watching from parked cars, pretending to be delivery drivers or loitering near playgrounds. Bear brought the evidence to the local sheriff, but the man hesitated. Too many technicalities, too little manpower. That's when Bear decided the club would do what the system couldn't. They started following the vans themselves, documenting faces, routes, and times. For nights, they rode in silence, engines low, eyes sharp. Every move was coordinated. What began as one frightened girl's plea for help turned into a full-blown operation. The Guardians uncovered a network of predators who were sharing information online, stalking vulnerable children around town. The bikers passed everything to a detective they trusted, a man who once served with Bear in the army. And when the time was right, the trap was set. It happened 2 weeks later, just as the girl was leaving school. The same black van appeared again, slowly creeping down the street. But this time the van was followed. 3 bikes, engines rumbling low, keeping distance but never losing sight. When the van stopped near a park and one of the men stepped out, the bikers surrounded it. Within seconds, the man tried to flee, but Bear himself pinned him down until the police arrived. That arrest led to 14 more over the next few days. The evidence gathered by the Guardians and handed over to law enforcement led to the rescue of several missing children and the exposure of an online ring that had been operating for years. 15 predators, men who thought no one was watching, were behind bars. The story spread like wildfire. News outlets picked it up, calling it the Biker Justice Operation. But for Bear and his brothers, it wasn't about fame or attention. It was about the little girl in the red hoodie, because she trusted them when she had every reason not to trust anyone. The day the final arrest was made, Bear rode to the diner where it all began. The girl was waiting there with her mom, holding a small handmade card that read, "Thank you for being my guardian angels." Bear smiled, but his eyes glistened with tears as he knelt down to her level again, just like that first night. He told her she was the bravest person he'd ever met, and that she had saved not only herself, but many others by speaking up. That night, the club gathered at their old warehouse, their unofficial headquarters. The mood was quiet, reflective. They'd seen justice done, but it reminded them of why they'd formed the Brotherhood in the first place, to stand between the innocent and the darkness that the world too often ignored. They didn't wear badges, but they had honor. They didn't seek reward, but they found redemption. Bear looked around at his brothers, men who once had their own demons, addiction, broken homes, lost families. "We can't change what we did in the past," he said, his voice heavy with emotion, "but we can damn sure protect the future." The room erupted in nods and murmurs of agreement. They had turned pain into purpose. The following weekend, the bikers escorted a group of neighborhood kids to school as a show of support. The sight of roaring bikes and waving flags made the children cheer. Even parents who once crossed the street to avoid the bikers now brought them coffee and thanked them for what they'd done. The line between outsiders and heroes began to blur in the best possible way. As months passed, Bear kept in touch with Jessica and her daughter. They often met at the diner for breakfast. The little girl wasn't scared anymore. She laughed easily and had even started calling Bear Uncle Bear. She said she wanted to be brave like him someday, to help people who couldn't help themselves. And in a quiet moment, when no one else could hear, Bear told her something that stayed with her forever. "Courage isn't the absence of fear, kiddo. It's doing the right thing despite it." The town of Ridgeway would never forget what happened. The diner where it began became something of a symbol, a reminder that even in a world full of cruelty, kindness still fights back. And sometimes, the most unexpected heroes are the ones with tattoos, scars, and engines that roar like thunder, but hearts that beat soft as mercy. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to help spread the message that kindness and courage still exist in this world. And if you believe that real heroes can come from anywhere, comment below what you would have done if that little girl came running to you for help. Because in the end, heroes aren't made in moments of comfort. They're forged in the storms of fear, when one act of bravery can change countless lives. And that night, in the rain outside a small-town diner, an 8-year-old girl's plea for help did exactly that. It awakened the protectors, silenced the predators, and reminded the world that even the toughest hearts can carry the softest purpose, to protect the innocent, no matter the cost.